Hey, Rio Wolfhard here. Today I want to talk about the OXBox, and I'm going to tell you why this thing is really awesome, and I'm also going to tell you why this thing really sucks. So here we go. Okay, so I've had the OXBox for about 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years, and I've done a lot of stuff with this thing. But as cool as this thing is, it also has its downsides, and I'm going to talk about that in this video. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'm having this thought to let go of this thing and selling it and getting something else to replace it. But I'm going to tell you that in the conclusion of my video at the end. So first of all, I had this for a couple of years. I recorded a lot of studio stuff on this thing. I recorded albums on this thing. I recorded for my band Wolf Spirit, the complete last album, which hasn't been released yet, with exactly this setup. With this guitar going into my pedal board right here, going into exactly this Marshall, into the OXBox with exactly this cab sim, and then just into the DAW tracked my guitars with this setup. And I got big compliments when I was when the studio engineer, when the mixing engineer heard my guitar tone. He gave me big compliments on my tone, that it's really nice and how I did that. And it's shown really easy, simple setup. Basically, it's a Les Paul into a Marshall, and the speaker cabinet thing I'm using is basically a 4x12. So, in case you don't know, in case you clicked on this video and you don't know what this thing is, they say that this is like 2 in 1, but actually this thing, this unit does 3 things. First of all, you go from this thing was designed to this thing was designed so when you have a tube amp like this 100 Marshall right there, you go, instead of going into a cab and miking that cab, you instead go into the OXBox, and that's the first thing that it does. This is a load box, because a tube amp, as you know, always has to see a load, or else the transformers will go kaput. And this is a load box, and it's a cool load box because you can switch the impedance. So you can switch it 4 ohm, 8 ohm, or 16 ohm. So it gives you all the options that happen in the guitar world. I know there's 2 ohm in the bass world, but that just never happens for guitars. Then the second thing is, it's a really fucking awesome guitar cab simulator. So you can go, it has 2 outputs, so you can even go out stereo. And instead of miking your guitar amp, you can just go out of this, and you can design on a software platform. You can design which mics you're using, which cabs you're using, how much room you want to have in your cab simulation, and it's all really state-of-the-art, high-end, well-designed software. You know what I mean? It's just really good. Man, and just listen to this tone right here. So this is the Marshall going into the OXBox, and then we have the cab simulation, which I'm always using. Yeah, really nice and fat. I'm using a 4x12 cab with some greenbacks actually. In real life I like to use V30s, but with the OXBox the greenbacks just won the game. I tested both. And then you have the option to save your presets that you can make on the software, and you can recall them right here with this little knob. So right now the one is preset 1 is the one that I always use, no matter what amp. If I use an AC30 or a Fender or a Marshall or my Iridium, it really doesn't matter. I always take just this one setting, and that's something important to note for me, that I don't need any of the 20 or 100 other settings. No, for me it's really just this exactly one thing, and I think that's not uncommon for guitar players. Like, look at the Tim Pierce stuff. He's got his one 4x12 guitar cab, that he's mic'd in his big isolation cab in his garage. And he's using all his 250 amps that he has in his cockpit around him with just that one single cab. Because, you know, it just sounds good. What else do you want? And everything else is going to be too complicated, you know? So anyway, you can switch the settings right here. You know, I have different ones that I kind of... So this one sounds a little fatter. What do we have here? I can't even remember. Oh yeah, here we got some delay on it. Actually pretty cool. Oh, I don't know what the fuck's happening here. I'm just gonna say nothing to that. What do you have here? Oh yeah, here I made one with a lot of room. So I did experiment with these, and as you can notice, all of these settings, it's like hard to make them sound bad, except the one before. But you know, the room, it just sounds so good. Got one more. This one's a little fatter. Maybe turn on some distortion. Yeah, but basically this one for me, it's got nothing on it, no EQ, no compression, because I do that afterwards in the mixing console. So that's the cool part about, and with this knob right here, you can even add some room. So let's say I did want to add some room sound, which means there's like a room microphone, a simulated room microphone. Yeah, I might not have turned that one on. No, nothing's happening here. So these two things, that this is a flexible load box and the cab simulation, these two things are really awesome about the OXBox. And as I said, I got big compliments on my tone, so I know it's not just me. Obviously, it's kind of like the whole world that really thinks this is like top of the game when it comes to cab simulation. But what a lot of people don't mention, and this is the part that I find kind of sucks about the OXBox, is the attenuator. In my opinion, the attenuator isn't really that good. And unfortunately, that's something I didn't notice when I bought this, when I went to store and I tested this thing. I kind of didn't notice that the attenuator really isn't that good. I'm going to show you what I mean. So listen to this tone right here. This is my Marshall. I got it set to where I want to tweak the settings. I pushed the volume so I get some nice tube saturation, you know. And now I want to have that at low volume. So I got my attenuator, and I'm going to just put it to, right now it's turned off. I'm going to put it here to 2. I'm going to turn off. So this is what you're hearing. I mic'd my 4x12 cab, which is in another room over there, with a ribbon mic. And yeah, I know what you're probably going to say. It's not the same cab, it's not the same miking. Yeah, but just listen to this. Notice how dull that thing sounds? Let me turn that off so we don't get that hum. Notice how it makes it really, really dull. So it takes off all those nice high-end treble frequency brilliance and those presence frequencies, and it really makes it mushy. Now, the farther I turn, the less I use the attenuator. So the more I turn it into this direction, it's gonna get better, obviously, and that's the case with most attenuators. But you know, that kind of takes away, that kind of makes the attenuator obsolete for me. Like I could never, when playing live, I could never go more than 4. Like 4, and that's like 5 is all the way up. Then you got 4, which is attenuating only a little bit, and then 3. And 3 is like the place where I needed to attenuate it when playing gigs, because otherwise the sound guy would just come up to me and tell me to turn down my amp. So, yeah, listen to this again. So this is the attenuated signal. And now, let me plug back in. And this is the cab simulation. Cab simulation. And simulated, motherfucker. So, yeah. What's nice about this, of course, So yeah, what's nice about this? You still get your tube saturation. It attenuates your signal. Yes, it does. But you just lose too much frequency. In my opinion, it's really better to have an amp that has a really nice sounding master volume and just use the master volume and then compensate with the EQ of your amp to kind of get it where it sounds like it would have that tube amp saturation. So I guess put in some more bass frequencies, maybe dial it up all the way on that Marshall right there. And for me, you know, the idea of the OXBox is to go out on stage, have your cab simulation, and then split the signal, and also have the attenuated signal coming out of your box, out of your speaker cab, live on stage. Like that, for me, that was always the idea. And I see people using this thing. Like, I'm not the only one using this thing live. I see Miles Kennedy is using the OXBox live. I see Tyler Bryant. If you don't know Tyler Bryant, go check him out. Awesome blues guitar player from Nashville. I see him using the OXBox live. And yeah, from time to time, you just see this thing on stages. Not very often, I have to admit, but you do see it. So I guess I'm just wondering, maybe those guys can still blast their amps. Maybe they don't want to use the tube saturation in the first place as much. Maybe they do just use the master volume and then they split the cab, and then they use just the isolated cab. What I'm talking about. And then they are just using the cab simulation of the OXBox and not so much the attenuator. Yeah, I mean, this thing, and that's another downside. This thing is like the most expensive one of these devices that you can get. You have the tube amp Waza, which is a couple $100 cheaper than this one. And then, of course, you have the Torpedo Captor X's, which are not even half the price of this thing, I believe. So for the same money, you buy an OXBox, you can get 2 Captor X's. The attenuator on the Captor X's is not good, you know, but this is not good either, so what's the point? And the cab simulation on the Captor X's is great. So here's my conclusion. Would I buy this thing here again, the OXBox? Man, I love this thing. I've recorded, as I said, I've recorded a lot of stuff. I use it in the studio like almost every day. And it's a lot of fun to play with this thing when you're just using the studio monitors or the headphone out, because it's just really that good, the software inside this. The attenuator really isn't that good. The dream team would be OXBox and then something like the Fried Power Station, because the Fried Power Station really is an attenuator that is unbelievably good. Like with the Fried Power Station, you could really turn it down to bedroom volume and still have all that richness of your tone without getting this dullness and mushiness that I'm experiencing right here with the attenuator of the OXBox. So I guess that's something that other YouTubers really don't talk about that much. That's why I want to make this video. Something to keep in mind. If money doesn't matter for you, I guess go for the OXBox. If it does, if you're a little bit more on the budget, and I would go for the Captor X, and then later on maybe get me the Fried Power Station, or just get the Amp 1 Iridium because the master volume is just so good with that thing that you don't need the OXBox, you don't need the Fried Power Station in my opinion. Yeah, people, hope I could show a little bit what this thing is capable of and what the downside of the OXBox is in my opinion. As I said, you don't hear this a lot on YouTube. Like, I never heard it before, like somebody talking shit about the attenuator. And I guess I should set that straight. Like, the attenuator is not shit on this thing. It still attenuates your signal, so it kind of does its job, but I think it's just a little bit weak for the money that you pay on this thing. It's just my opinion. People, leave a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what's your opinion on the OXBox. Am I just full of shit, or is there some truth to what I'm saying? Did you have similar experiences or not? Put a thumbs up, leave a subscription, and yeah, thanks for watching the video. See you next time.